Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another video at Zone Aquatics. Today I'm here with an extremely special guest. His name is Grant Eder. Grant is the owner of the Garden of Eder. He's been breeding shrimps for so many flipping years. Like, how many years would you say? Maybe like 12
It's been
probably?
11 years now.
11 years?
Yeah.
Yep. And then he's won multiple shrimp awards. He's won multiple aquascaping tournaments with his wife, now fiance, wife,
Yeah. Shelby.
Shelby. Um, and Grant is just one of the pillars that I would consider a pillar of the aquarium content hobby. He's done a really great job spreading the love around shrimps in particular. But obviously, he does a lot more than that. And he's just regarded as one of the biggest shrimp breeders in America and probably one of the best in the world. So thank you for coming on here, Grant.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. In your just short amount of content creating time, you've done quite a bit. So any, helpful information getting out there and helping others, it's great to have another person that's out there doing it. So
I appreciate that, man. That's for me, that's what it's all about, bro. Like just trying to get the right information to people. There's so much misinformation out there. Um, I just really want to make an effort to try and change that and try and even if I help one person, dude, one person, that'll be worth it for me.
yeah, the hobby kind of spreads quickly word of mouth. So if you help one person stay in the hobby, then they can keep one person in the hobby or get a person interested in the hobby. So especially with shrimp keeping, it's such a small niche. So anybody that wants to talk shrimp, put it onto social media or anything like that, I'm always for it because the more people that are keeping the different varieties, especially here in the United States, then that's more access to shrimp that I have available for myself and my own collection. So,
Right, right. I think let's just start with what I want to do is really just learn a little bit more about you, the man behind the business, right? I'm sure people talk to you that always want to talk to just shrimp, right? And that's we're gonna get there, but I wanna know a little bit more about your backstory, about where you grew up, how you grew up, what motivated you to really get into this kind of stuff.
so, I was born in Hawaii. We moved to Florida when I was 3. So really anything from Hawaii at that point, I don't have many memories or any influence from then. But here in Florida, our freshwater springs are some of the best in the world, right? And where we live, especially right in like an hour driving range, I have some really incredible rivers. We've always had kayaks as a kid. We've always gone to this water park that's just near my house. Like every summer, my mom would take me there.
Hmm.
And you can only ride the slides so many times in a day before you're bored and you have to go find something else to do. And I would always have like, one of those old plastic butterfly catching nets.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
would
yeah.
I would take it into the water through the guppy grass and I would try to catch guppies and I would also get shrimp. And there would be like the spotted, which I know now are the oh man, it just the melanistic gambusia, right?
Hmm.
As a kid, I just thought those were like special guppies that I was able to catch. And the shrimp would survive a lot longer in the buckets than the guppies would. So after some time, I was like, I don't want to keep killing fish. So I would just try and catch as many shrimp as I could. So every day I go back and try and beat my record from the previous day and whatnot, right? And then eventually, my family is still in Hawaii, so I do summers over there sailing and spend extra time at the yacht club. And there's coral banded shrimp, and we catch those using bubble gum to catch crabs, and then using the crabs to catch shrimp, like a little circle of life chain cycle going on. And it just got me involved. And then there's like a buddies of mine who live real near to me, but he's on the back of a lake. And every time it rained, these crawfish would come out. And
Yeah,
his whole lawn would have like blue and white and red and orange crawfish and brown and all different kinds of colors.
really.
And so that really like we'd go around the yard and try to like the white ones were like the hardest ones to find, and the blue ones were like the coolest ones, so we would try to catch like as many as we could of the certain colors and whatnot. But there's always like been a crustacean in my life, whether or crabbing or something like that. And then when I got with Shelby, she had some aquariums and she lived a good distance away. And I was like, if I have some aquariums at my house, maybe she'll want to spend more time here. And I won't have to do as much driving. And, it's a good excuse to add some aquariums. Even before Shelby, we always like our house was like a mini zoo. Like people who didn't have pets definitely thought my house was a zoo. At one point, we had 4 dogs. We had 2 cats. We had 2 birds, a blue macaw, and a little green parrot. So um, there was always some type of wildlife going on. And I had aquariums of my own. Like started off with neon tetras and a African claw frog, and the frog ate all the tetras, and then I took a whole puffer fish, and then realized that that time like all the puff I can't remember what kind of puffer fish they were, but all of them needed brackish, and we got it from like Walmart, and Walmart was not telling you the type of water, and
Right.
my parents were just like, all right, if you have the tank for it and it's here in this fish store, it's got to be good for your tank. They're selling it all together, right?
Hmm.
I just went through the cycle of all these different critters and hamsters and turtles and what iguana, lots of different lizards as a kid. So I wanted the fish, but I also wanted to impress Shelby a little bit more. So I had a Jack Dempsey tank, and then we had another tank that I was breeding feeder guppies, and then we were constantly going to Petco or Pet Supermarket or one of our local pet stores. And I was buying dozens of ghost shrimp at a time and just feeding them. And I was trying to get them to breed, and I could never get them to breed. And not sure we kept the aquariums like the entire time all the way through, but eventually like we had gone to a pet store and I was spending like half my paycheck every week buying different fish. Shelby had a huge peacock um cichlid tank, like OB peacocks and then other African cichlids and stuff like that we were buying pet store prices, singular ones, and stocking the tank. And we had Oscars, we had a bunch of different varieties of fish,
And how
and we
old were you at
stumbled.
this point?
So when I met Shelby, I was 17 and 18. So
Wow.
getting all these aquariums with her and spending all of my paychecks, like I didn't have real bills to pay because my
Hmm.
parents, I was still living under their roof. But yeah, eventually uh, we were hanging out with one guy who had a bunch of chameleons, and I was like, "Man, these are awesome." And Shelby was like, "I really want one." So I was like, "All right, I'm gonna get her one for her birthday." And the chameleon uh, was an expense, right? Like you have to buy crickets and replace the UVB bulbs every 6 months,
Hmm.
and the calciums and everything like that we were having to spend on it. It was kind of expensive. And then Shelby got pregnant with our first kid, and we had this chameleon already. And I'm trying to figure out ways to cut expenses so that way the kid is the priority and
Right,
everything.
right.
And I was like, this chameleon's eating up, this much money a month, and just breeding your own crickets and feeders wasn't enough, right? So I was like, but if I get 2 chameleons and we breed them, then they can pay for themselves, and we might be able to even pay for a little bit more money, or for like some other expenses, like the
Hmm.
electric bill and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So we had a Jackson chameleon. I looked up how to breed them. They're live birth, so I didn't even have to get an incubator. Like the expenses to set up another chameleon cage weren't that much. I
Right.
think we already had like backup cages or something like that I found on Craigslist. And we found a female, paired them up, and back then captive breeding Jackson chameleons was like very, very low baby survival rate. Like 20% was like if you got 20% of them to live, you did good, right? And out of 16 babies from our first clutch, we got 14 of them to be able to live, to grow, and be
Wow.
sold. So I had two clutches like that back to back, and then used some of that money to invest in the Panther chameleons. And I was kind of like going to Repticons, and at the very end of the day on Sunday, the last day, going to leopard gecko tables and going, hey, how much do you want for the whole table? And I get maybe 30 leopard geckos for like $15 a piece.
Hmm.
Some of them are like $80 morphs. I'd take them home, I'd raise them up, triple them in size, and I was selling them on Craigslist and forums and stuff like that. And I was making pretty good money. And then my dad offered to sell me the landscape business because I was like done working with him. I was
Hmm.
like, I can't do landscaping. I'm doing my own thing with these geckos and the chameleons, and I was doing good, like making, $400 a week, and we didn't need to go to uh uh I'm sorry, we didn't need to pay for like a mortgage. We were staying with Shelby's mom, who just needed, someone to help her take care of the house and whatnot. I had her whole garage filled up with like 60 breeding pairs of, or not breeding, 30 breeding pairs of chameleons, and then like we'd have like 60 babies growing up, and then 90 eggs in the incubator at any given time. And
Damn.
I always had like 20 to 30 plus aquariums that were dealing with geckos. Once we started to get really going with the chameleons, something happened with one of the Jack Dempseys and it passed away, or the Oscar, and we ended up putting it under like a tomato plant, and it grew 4 foot taller than all the other plants outside did.
Huh.
So they were put to good use, but we ended up getting out of the fish and like heavily into the reptiles. So we had 20, 30 aquariums where I was using them for geckos that were left over from some of them were left over, but I was always on Craigslist, like buying any kind of setups that I could that were a deal, and
Hmm.
then, cleaning up some of them and reselling them. Like I was doing anything I could reptile related to just keep it going, cover all of our bills, all of our expenses, and make sure the kid had everything he needed, right?
Yeah.
But then my dad offered to sell me the landscape business. I was like, all right, he's moving to Hawaii. I can stay home and make a lot more money, right? $400 a week was good doing the reptiles, but it was never guaranteed. Sometimes I'd go a week or two without sales, and then another week I'd pick up and I'd do like $1,000 or so, right?
Hmm.
So it just averaged out pretty well. But the landscape thing was like, I'd be an idiot to pass this up. It's a great opportunity for my family. I'm not sure if Shelby was like pregnant with Layla at that time, but we knew we wanted more kids at least. I'm an
Hmm.
only child, and I was like, I at least need to not make my son an only child, right? So I knew the landscape business was guaranteed money, is good money here in Florida. The work sucked. So for like 2 years, I sold sold off the chameleons because I couldn't do landscaping for 6 days a week, and then my day off, I'm doing blades and oil changes and stuff like that too. So I never
Yeah.
really had like downtime when I was doing the business. But I had sold all the geckos, all stopped doing all the worms because I was taking care of crickets and worms for 2 hours a day when I was
Wow.
doing the chameleons and everything. So that's hot stuff in the garage. Go outside, and like every 2, 3 weeks, I have to clean out all the chameleon cages, hose them down, rinse off all the poop off the fake leaves and everything like that.
Hmm.
So to do that on top of the landscaping, the chameleons were never going to get the care that they deserve.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I ended up finding like really, really good homes for all the chameleons. I sold off the babies and whatnot. I had some pets that weren't like breeding or breedable, wouldn't pair off with any females. I found them like as display animals for pet stores with like really incredible habitats. So,
Hmm.
and got rid of all of it. But every time I was on Craigslist, I'd see this ad for like breed red cherry shrimp and make it a side hustle, and make it this profit on the side. And he had ponds and lilies and all these things. And I just got bored one night, read the entire website that he had, and I noticed that he's always sold out of these red cherries. So eventually I ended up getting some off of like Amazon.
Hmm.
And when I got out of the chameleon, Shelby's like, "Well, can we get fish now?" And I'm like, "Yes, fish are way less low maintenance." So Shelby had an Oscar tank, like a 55-gallon, and I ordered these red cherry shrimp from eBay, and they're like clear. Like I'm like, they sent me ghost shrimp. I pulled that whole total noob thing that everybody does, where they're like, "Oh, these aren't even the right shrimp," da 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 da, and I'm just like talking to the guy. They even resent me some that were nicer in color. And Shelby the whole time's like, "These are feeders for the Oscars, right?" And I'm like, "God, just hear me out. All right. I'm gonna breed these and I'm gonna sell them for money, and we're gonna pay for, other expenses." And she probably thought I was even crazier because like for the first 2 years, I didn't pocket any of the money. If I sold shrimp, it was because I already had shrimp that I wanted to buy lined up.
Hmm.
So at times I was just dumping my own money, like tips and stuff that I would get from work, and be like, "That's shrimp money," and I get a new variety. So in
Yeah.
like the first 2 years of keeping shrimp, I got like 55 different varieties or 55 tanks. It's hard to keep up with what numbers they were after a decade, but in 2 years, we really went in deep on keeping as many different varieties, breeding as many different varieties as I could. And it took me some time to convince my dad, who I still owed money for the landscape business, to be like, "Hey, I'm going to sell the landscape business and do the shrimp full time." And he's like, "I ain't signing off on that. That's a horrible decision." And one day he's sailing, and they live in Hawaii. Every Friday night, there's a sail, a race out of the yacht club that they're at.
Hmm.
So he's sailing in a race, and one of the guys he's sailing with goes, "Hey, Steve, you got a son named Grant?" And my dad's going, "How does this guy know my son by name? And like, what did my son do to get into the national news?" Like, like that's what my dad's thinking.
Hmm.
And he's like, "Man, your son's got some really nice shrimp." And this guy ended up being like the wholesale distributor in charge of Hawaii for Marineland.
Oh,
So
wow.
he had a good job. He was able to go sailing, and he had convinced my dad that what I'm doing was actually like
Huh.
something that has potential. So my dad's like, "All right, go ahead, sell the business." So I sold the landscape business, paid off the debt, paid off like months of bills so I could breathe up the business. I couldn't have done any of it though without Shelby. She took on a couple extra jobs so that way we met the bills throughout, especially the winter time. Like this time of the year, people
Hmm.
go dark on sales. Then nobody
Yeah.
wants to buy anything and get a popsicle. So it's like convincing somebody who lives where you do that they can get shrimp still in the middle of the winter. Um, this week was Black Friday and Cyber Monday
Hmm.
sales. So like there's a ton of delays and packages are going to get piled up on top of one another. So like I picked and choose certain states on where I was going to ship if they were a little bit on the cold side, just to wait off for 2 weeks because it'll be a day or two less in shipping and they won't get as cold and it'll be less stress on the shrimp.
Hmm.
But for the most part, it's less than 1% DOA, and we do really really well. But Shelby killed it, took on extra jobs, worked as a receptionist, took a job at West Marine, took a job at 7-Eleven, and then on top of it, helping me with orders and water changes and everything else like that. So, and then once I was at a point where we could do this full time, she has now stepped down from working her retail job. She's doing this full time. She's got a part time job with Pisces, where she does aquascaping and takes
Hmm.
photos of the product and tests product with what we've got going on.
Hmm.
She really killed it to be able to, both of us to be doing something that we really love. We're
Hmm.
able to support 3 kids, and we're living a dream. We really are. So
Right. Yeah, dude, that is one hell of a story. Like
yeah,
that is an awesome story, man. And so you mentioned those first 2 years where you just bought the shrimps and then off you go. You bought 55 in those 2 years, right?
yeah.
Did you ever like did you ever question yourself? You're like, is this something I really want to do? Or is like, do I sound crazy when I say this out loud? Or did you ever have that sort of doubt where you're like, because obviously those 2 years, right? You're watching those shrimp, you're learning, you're growing, and then at some point you're like, okay, 55. All right, let's go. Let's do this. What was that thought process like that for you?
So even though it was within 2 years, it still scaled at a rate of where I was successful along every single part of the road
Mm-hmm.
along the way, that there wasn't a lot of bumps in the road. You know what I'm saying? I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have like whole entire colony crashes except for like in the very beginning. I went from red cherry tank number 1 to 2 to 3. And I was like, all right, well, my fourth aquarium should be a different kind of shrimp because
Mm-hmm.
that's what the guy that I read the website was like, get a couple of barrels going, then you're good to go on another one. He was breeding them in muck buckets outside in Florida and
Mm-hmm.
then putting heaters on them through the winter and stuff like that. But I was like, oh, I'm going to put heaters on them inside and same temperatures and everything like that. I ordered some more blue velvets off of eBay, and all of them died except for one. And I've
Wow.
got just one shrimp in a tank now, right? And I'm like, man, poor guy. Like I gotta take some of my other shrimp from my other tanks at least to give them, some buddies.
Hmm.
And what happened was they crossed, and instead of getting wilds, I ended up getting red and blue rillies.
Oh
So I
wow.
got a red head, red tail, blue body. Some of them were clear body, but I turned what ended up being a crash in the road into another vehicle, into another
Hmm.
direction,
Hmm.
right? So it was really like, I was like, oh man, this is how they make other types of shrimp too. So it was like, I can make these red tigers, I can make these red crystals from just what I have now. Was
Hmm.
completely clueless that there were even different varieties of shrimp, that they needed different water parameters. Like I was like so ignorant to all of those facts. I went off on Google and I just read basic things on eBay and this one website, and I was like, all right, I'm having so much success. And
Hmm.
it wasn't until I started getting into Caridina shrimp, like the bee shrimp, the crystals, and the Taiwans, that I was like, I'm not getting any babies. Like, I'm
Hmm.
buying the shrimp. I've got the tank running for 2, 3 months. Nobody's pregnant. What's going on? So I did some deeper research on the shrimp spot, which is no longer available. It used to be a shrimp farm.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, my water's wrong. My substrate's wrong. I need to invest a little bit more money. And I think I waited for like tax return or something like that where I had the available money. And I was like, I'm going to invest some money on these shrimp. I already have them. This will
Hmm.
get them breeding and it'll pay for itself. And that's what happened. Like I was lucky enough that the shrimp were actually paying for the next variety of shrimp. The
Hmm.
regret that I honestly had, looking back at everything, was I sold some colonies of shrimp too early. Like I should have set up 2 tanks of that variety of shrimp, but like I wanted the next variety so soon. Like
Yeah.
that like dopamine that you got from getting a new shrimp for the first time, it's bar none. Like I just got some orange-eyed neocaridina
Hmm.
last week,
Hmm.
and I still get that like rise through the body of feeling that I'm like, man, these are awesome. I don't have these yet. I've added to the collection, and I've got something else to work with. Like they gave me a cull like red one, and I'm like, well, I can use the red one with the blue ones, and I can get some different varieties, or I can get some wilds. I don't know. I'll find out, and whatnot. So along the way was convincing Shelby that this $55 investment on this auction of these shrimp that are really worth, $100, and I'm going to get them shipped for 55 when we should have been, maybe buying healthier groceries or something like that. So we
Hmm.
ate some ramen and some noodles and what rice dinners just to get through. But looking back at it now, it was all worth it. I didn't really have any doubts, but it was definitely like, should we be spending this money? Was
Hmm.
definitely like, if you're not having those doubts, then I don't think that's very healthy,
Right.
So especially with having a family and everything like that. But it was always, I had the landscape business, and like I said, I was using the shrimp to pay for themselves to expand. So because they were successful, moving forward, it was just giving me more confidence to spend more and more money.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you talk about that rush and selling that first colony, I mean, I sold my guppy colony like last week for I mean, I bought them pretty cheap at a fish swap. I grew them up. They bred. I got those like mutt colors, but sometimes mutts are beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I sold them for like a lot more than I bought them for, right? And I got that rush. And I suppose for you, did you, because you spoke about like your regrets and like what you'd change. I mean, when you started the business, or even now when you have the business, what is I feel like when I talk to breeders out there at fish swap and stuff like that, I say, well, what is your goal? And they say, oh, I want to be full time. I want this to be what I do. Of course, that is like everyone wants to do what they want to love, right? But what do you think is something that people don't understand about being, an owner of like someone like let's sound like similar to you, like you do shrimp, like that is your passion, that is your company. What are some of those things that no one really talks about, like the harsh realities, if you will?
A lot of it is support. If you're just out there all by yourself and you're trying to make ends meet, there's going to be times where, like I mentioned, the winters, things can be growing really well for you and during the summer, and you're like, oh, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to go full time. I was lucky enough that I had Shelby to fall back on. So, like, I don't give Shelby enough credit. I really don't. Like, a lot of times I say I when I should have said we to give
Hmm.
her like half or if not 90% of some of the stuff that comes out is all her. Um, and then on top of that, if like I said before, I quit the landscaping job, I was working 6 days a week and changing oil and stuff on my day off. Well, now I've got to do water changes in the morning before I go change oil because I'll have oil on my hands. So I'd have to wake up extra early. It's definitely less sleep. It's a lot more work and money involved. Like when I first thought, like, all right, I can sell a landscape business, and I totaled up all the bills and all the expenses and everything. And then like right away when I sold the landscape business, like our insurance went up. And I was like, oh, now all of a sudden we need to make an extra $100. And then gas prices go up a little bit and groceries go up a little bit. And it's like now a year later, I've got Shelby to lean back on, and she's like, "Don't worry, I'll get this job here because I could go get a job, but then that means I'm not doing as many water changes. I'm not culling the shrimp as much. Like it's a lot of work behind the scenes, and it really is just hustle, grind, and having the support. Like back then, we didn't have the kids. We had to take care of the kids.
Hmm.
So it's managing and making sacrifices that a lot of people don't talk about. It's like doing shows and traveling to get your name out there and working on your birthdays and stuff like that. Like we had a show in Louisiana and it was a good opportunity for us, but it's on Layla's birthday. So I had to
Mm.
ask permission from my daughter. Hey, can we go to Louisiana and work a show on your birthday? But, we'll do whatever you want out there. We ended up taking her to a mall that she's never been to before. She went shopping. She got a couple things. We took her to an ice cream place she'd never been. She ate a bunch of good food that she'd never had. So it's making the sacrifices like that, finding the silver linings of getting to travel and explore and seeing those things, that's good experiences for your kid and stuff like that. But like last year, we did 15 different events out of state. There was a lot of birthday parties that my kids missed out on. So
Right.
it's making it up to them when they get back. It's, that's the stuff people don't talk about. So I can't just come home and immediately get back to the aquariums and stuff. Now we got to go bring the kids to the roller rink, or, do
Hmm.
something for them on top of it. So we'll spend entire days making it up to the kids because of how much they help us out.
Right.
So it's a family effort, but it's all support when it boils down to it. So I'm really lucky that they like doing it. Layla loves the aquatic plants, the aquascaping, and fish and shrimp in general. Like, she's a little mini me when it comes down to it. Jaden's much more interested into the reptiles and wants to get into breeding snakes and stuff, but he's got to,
Okay.
you know, find his own way to take care of those things, because I'm not taking care of mice and rats and stuff like that. That's got to be all him, right? So he's working his way up with the leopard geckos right now, and he's manning that all on his own. He cleans the whole cage out, he feeds them water, everything is all on him. So he's maybe another year or so away from getting the snake. I've got a bunch of friends that keep threatening to drop off snakes, and a couple of times there's been snakes in the house. I'm like, not the time, right? So um, we've got Myra, who's just a little over 1 years old, but she is in awe anytime she sees a fish. Anytime I got videos of aquascapes going on, she's intent and looking and focused on the phone and stuff like that. So she's a lot of work getting to do shows, and we want another kid. So it's like the next year, it's grind out as many out of state shows as we possibly can. Because after that, kid number two is going to be a lot more harder, more difficult to travel and whatnot. So we'll have to grind and do more content here. And really, like, social media is the best thing you can do for yourself. So you jumping in, getting started now is, it's never too late. I missed out on doing it back when Facebook was promoting YouTube videos and not trying to
Hmm.
sell their own ad formatted video and
Right.
content, right? So I kind of was like, Facebook will take me to where I need to be, and I'll never have to worry about real social media and other videos. And I just did videos to answer questions, so I didn't have to repeat like the same answers every single time to people.
Hmm.
But then Facebook made it against the rules also to sell live animals. So YouTube's really like one of those must-have platforms if you want to get established in the hobby. And there's so many different niches in the hobby. You could really be that guy and pick any fish and be successful with it, and make it a part-time career or a full-time career, if you're one of the lucky ones. And we
Hmm.
just have to be lucky
Yeah.
enough.
What are your thoughts on if you look on YouTube and you look at any video that's like make profit out of one singular tank? I noticed that it always sounds like the same three things. It's like plecos at the bottom, cherry shrimps, and like guppies or something. What's your stance on that? Like, do you think that works?
So I had a buddy who every time he was at the house, always stared in the tanks. And I was like, dude, just get some for yourself. And he eventually had like 40 aquariums, and it got out of hand with his significant other. And, you know, he was still making some good money off of it, like with all the shrimp that he was breeding and everything like that. So it was definitely paying for itself. But he had a baby too. He didn't have time to maintain everything, so he had to um, consolidate into a smaller space, less tanks. And I was trying to convince him that the best thing for him to do with some of his larger tanks was guppies, shrimp, plecos, and like specifically try to breed out blue ram's horn snails, not browns, not pinks or anything like that. Maybe you do pinks in a different one and reds in a different one, but like make sure there's no browns, because if a brown ram's horns mates with any other color, almost all the babies come out brown. And then by
Hmm.
that, it's just like wild shrimp. It's so hard to get ahead of the genetics after
Right.
that.
Hmm.
But in a small 55-gallon tank, it's doable if you focus on it. do a different strain of guppy in each tank, do a different strain of bristlenose in each tank, and a different strain of neocaridina in each tank. And you can also take this a step further: different type of moss in each tank, different type of Java fern, different type of Nubius, different type of crypt, and you can farm all four of those in that environment in a 55-gallon tank, no problem. Overfeed the fish, overfeed the plecos, and the shrimp and snails will get the food, right? Don't specifically try to feed, like your video, don't try to feed the shrimp if you're already overfeeding plecos. The shrimp are
Hmm.
going to get more than well taken care of. But he never went through with it. So like the video progression stopped. I was filming his house and he just ran into too many other things. He's trying to be a DJ, a notary, a real estate. He would
Mm.
also go to weddings and take photos and do the little firework explosion cannon things. And he had a lot going on. So the aquatics kind of took the backdrop. But I am a firm believer if you're trying to make especially like money selling stuff to clubs and swap meets and stuff like that, plecos, shrimp, and guppies are always going to be like bread and butter at all of these shows. I mean, the plants on top of it are just little extra something something to get them a little extra spending money, right?
Yeah.
So, um, and it's super easy to maintain. They can all be well with one another, but I do say start with the snails and shrimp, then add the plecos, then add the guppies. Once the shrimp are breeding, then you can add the plecos, then you can add the guppies after that, and that way it's not everything all at once. You've given the shrimp enough time to establish. So even if the guppies are eating some of the shrimp, they're breeding and out
Hmm.
producing what the guppies are eating. So,
Hmm.
but we're me and Shelby are lucky enough that we get to go and tour the United States, the different shows, and people invite us to go see different fish tanks. And I've seen countless tanks where there's guppies, plecos, and shrimp all breeding in that community style setup. And you know they might not be getting as many shrimp as they would be in a shrimp only setup, but the
Hmm.
guppies and the plecos aren't affected by the shrimp, so they're breeding in the same amount of numbers and everything like that. As long as you're keeping the water clean and pristine, then your population of fish won't suffer. The shrimp are going to thrive in that same environment. So it's great if you're looking for, you know, a good little variety of different things that work well with one another.
All right. Awesome. The last part of the video, because I know I want to be considerate of your time, the last part of the video is that I have done a bit of a deep dive and collected a couple photos that I want you to explain.
Okay.
Okay, so tell me what, can you see it?
Yeah.
Tell me what this was and who you're with and all that.
So this is from the aquatic experience, either in Chicago or Jersey. I'm not going to know exactly what year, but this is one of the top shrimp breeders in the world. That's Carbon Chen. He is
Mm-hmm.
from Taiwan. He's got an incredible collection of shrimp. He's got some incredible varieties and a very top quality breeder. He's won more of the American International Awards than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So he's well established in the hobby. He's one of my favorite people too.
Awesome.
He's
Let's
a
see.
funny guy.
All right, tell me about. I think this was probably one of my favorite aquascapes that I saw you two do. What was the vision here? I mean, where did I'm guessing, were you helping Shelby do this one, or was this?
So this actually started out as there was three of us originally on this team. This was the first aquascape contest that we did in Dallas, and our third partner was busy aquascaping for Owasi,
Mm-hmm.
and he had this vision already like another aquascape was very similar to this.
Mm-hmm.
So if you saw where like the branches are kind of escalating over the top,
Yep.
and then it's kind of the depth pushes it back, but it's like that arch into the back vocal, uh, not vocal, the back point of view.
Hmm.
Um, and it was too time consuming of the other projects, so he wasn't able to help us out.
Hmm.
So this was actually the first tank that Shelby and myself worked on entirely all by ourselves. So it wasn't exactly like the vision that the teammate had suggested, but it really just went together really easy with the two of us.
Hmm.
Shelby works really good with the rock work up front,
Hmm.
and the wood we pieced all together, anything and every specialties. So the moss going across the wood and everything like that. But this was our second win. We had just won in Orlando with the team of four of us.
Hmm.
And then in Dallas, it just ended up being the two of us. So really proud of this tank. Um, it was one of those learning curves because you go from doing it twice with a team of four people to
Hmm.
just doing it with two people. And you learn very quickly, like, we don't have time to put moss over everything and
Hmm.
fill it in every nook and cranny. At the same time, we had a booth and whatnot, and our other two teammates didn't run the booth. So from
Mm.
start to finish, we had to kind of trade off at times to get this tank finished.
Hmm.
And I was scaping against two really good friends who I considered like way higher tier aquascapers. And to be able to pull off the win with them competing, it was one of the greatest things. Being with just me and Shelby working
Yeah,
together, it was a really good feeling.
that's awesome, man. Do you keep aquascapes in your house right now?
So yes, we have my first aquascape that I did in one of the Denali tanks. Maybe not the first, but one of the first is still up and running, and same with Shelby's. I've got two planted like Dutch style farm tanks, but Shelby's got one of my shrimp tanks that's scaped that I need to replant. I'm in the middle of videoing and filming that. But then we both have our tanks from Connecticut where we scaped against each other. And a couple of our fluval aquascapes are, well, at least one of them is exactly the way the hardscape was when we scaped it.
Hmm.
It just needs to be replanted and filled up. So we'll have more scapes here in the future, but not as many as I wanted.
Can you see this photo here? This one
Yeah.
was this one of your first was this your first fish room or
So this is our living room. So like this is in the middle, like the couch right there. This would be going through the couch.
gotcha.
Um, the 55s that are up on that rack is now those tanks right there. So I no
Yeah.
longer have the now mounted. Can
Can
you
you hear
hear
me?
me?
Yep, yep, yep.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. I move the mic and sometimes it unplugs. So, but now the TV is on the fireplace above the fireplace.
Hmm.
So, this was like not even a stand that I built. The one that's not painted, that was like one of the first purchases for like aquarium racks that I bought on Craigslist, and
Hmm.
part of the reason why I joined the Tampa Bay Aquarium Society. But at one point, yeah, this was all the tanks that were in the living room. So one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10, maybe 11 off on the right hand corner. There's another one, but now there's 245 10-gallon tanks in that same spot.
Wow. And how many
We've
tanks do you
ripped
have
up the
total?
floors. I'm no longer happy with those floors. We've changed the couches are long gone. I think we've gone through like three sets of couches since then. But what were you
Jeez.
saying? I'm sorry. I think there's a little bit
I'd
of
say
delay.
what tank what number of tanks are you at now? I know you have multiple tanks in ponds and you have several
The number is 500. It might be more than
oof.
500. but I'm done counting. I got to 500, and since then there's a few extra like skate tanks that Shelby has done and whatnot. Some of the tanks aren't running that are in Shelby's rack, but my job was done. I plumbed the tanks; they're all ready to be filled up and set up. So Shelby has just tanks that she can use for her aquascaping, for her killie projects, whatever she wants to do with them. So as far as I'm concerned, because they're plumbed, they're working, there's
Hmm.
500 aquariums in the house. There's even more if you want to get technical with all the empty tanks that we have in the garage.
Hmm.
But set up and running 500.
I think you're a little bit addicted, dude.
But since the baby was born, I put the limit on 500. I don't think I can set up the garage to fit another 100 in or another 50 to make it like 550. The most I would get is like another 20 or 30 tanks. So um,
I'm gonna
before the
quote you
baby
on that.
before the baby was born, we got rid of a lot of our fish. So
Hmm.
Shelby got rid of all of her killies, a lot of her wild bettas. I got rid of some of my pistos, my pseudomcgills, and stuff like that because I didn't want more mouths to feed. We didn't know if the baby was going to be a troublesome baby or what, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't want the fish to be neglected. We found good homes for them. A couple of my friends from our fish club were over the house, and I was just like, "What do you want? Take it." And we got rid of everything but my koi fish. Like the koi fish
Hmm.
outside, we turned
Hmm.
our swimming pool into a koi and turtle pond. There's 70 ponds outside, so it's not just 500 aquariums in the house. There's 70 ponds outside that are breeding neocaridina shrimp, and some of them are just uh, plant uh, ponds with plants, and I threw in some rice fish as
Hmm.
mosquito control, right? But I'm not trying to
Hmm.
actively breed the rice fish or anything. So, uh, oh man, I spaced out. Where was I at? What was I talking about? Oh, the addicted thing. All right. What I'm doing now? So we got rid of the fish. Now I'm getting more fish in. So Shelby's got some Gadeids. She's got
Hmm.
some Killies, some Bettas again. I've got some rainbows. We got a Fahaka puffer fish. So the fish are making their way back in. But I'm also going through the entire house. I've killed off all the Cladophora in some tanks, the blue-green algae in some tanks that were just like some of Shelby's overfed fish tanks that, we're leaving for a trip, want to make sure they have enough food. Every time we come home, there's blue-green algae from the little bit of food that the fish didn't eat because we overfed them before we left for a trip. And then it never goes away until you treat it. So
Right.
I've got a bunch of tanks throughout the house that could be reset. So rather than setting up more tanks, I'm just going to make sure every single tank in the house is pristine. If I have, 1% of the tanks is empty or has an issue or something like that, that wouldn't really bother me. But like right now, it's like 10%. So I need
Hmm.
to really dial in all of the aquariums, get them maxed out before I worry about, setting up more tanks. But I think by the time I'm happy with everything that I have in the house and rearranging a few things, I think we'll have the ability to move and set up something where I have 500 tanks running automated. I double that to 1,000 because right now I'm doing manual water changes and everything like that,
Are you
right?
serious?
Yeah, everything's hose, and I have a siphon on that. Nothing's drilled. I take another trash can with another pump, and I slowly fill up all the aquariums. I try to do like 50 tanks a day, 5 days a week. We do shipping on Mondays and Saturdays. So if I can maintain this, move to a facility where it's all flip the switch and my water changes are done, then I
Hmm.
can keep up on quality control, culling the shrimp, everything like that,
Yeah.
and just double everything. So we're starting to save up pennies instead of another rack of 50 aquariums.
Hmm.
I mean, I think I did the breakdown for 36 tanks the last time I set it up. It was like 2,600 bucks. With inflation and stuff, it might be a little higher now. So
Hmm.
you got to think that's like 5 grand almost,
Yeah.
probably towards a down payment on another property that we want to get. So you can quote me on it, no more than the 500 in this house. I'd rather save my money and get into a better location down the road. That's the goal to the next stream.
So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna clip that part, and then if I ever watch a video that says you have 501, I'm gonna send it right to
Well,
you.
no, 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 no. 550. Or
Ah,
if I'm claiming over 500, because like if somebody goes around and is like, how many tanks do you have? And I'm like, oh, like 500, maybe a couple more tanks. Because Shelby sets up a bunch of them. But I'm not going to be like, oh, don't say I have 500 tanks. I have 501. No, I'll always say like I got it like right around 500. But
okay,
if I
okay,
ever go, all right, I got 550 tanks now, and that's the new number, then yeah, yeah, clip that and be like, Grant,
okay.
you said that it wasn't gonna happen. So yeah,
Okay.
no,
All right, let's wrap it up here with one final question.
gotcha.
What would you say? And we can talk about it near Carradino or Carradino. What is one like cheap slash affordable product that you think would like instantly improve a shrimp tank?
Oh, just one product. I would have to be shrimp NV complete food.
Okay.
The food is a lot more important than a lot of people give it credit to. You can get away with just feeding flake food or any generic food, but it's so hard to be able to maintain exactly how much you're feeding because the flake food, powdered food, and stuff like that scatters. You don't realize that there's a bunch of uneaten pieces that are going to start building up the ammonia and nitrogen level and stuff like that. So finding a really solid shrimp pellet, and I don't think there's a better one on the market than Shrimp NV Complete. We derived our Shrimp NV garlic that we have our product that we made with them is
Hmm.
just their Shrimp NV Complete with added garlic, so that your shrimp don't have that poop hanging on the tail, just like plecos do and whatnot. So it kind of cleans them out. But that Shrimp NV Complete, if I had to say just one product, I would get that. Make sure that the shrimp are eating all of it within 2 hours. If not, turkey baster, take it out, feed less next time, find that sweet spot within
Hmm.
1 to 2 hours that the shrimp are eating all that food, and yeah, that would be it.
All right, there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Grant Eder, thank you very much for your knowledge and for your wisdom. I'm gonna have to ask Shobi to be on the channel next, dude. You've made me really want to talk to her.
Hey, she's always down to do the exact same thing. I'm really lucky enough, and here's another part too. Is like I get this from all of my old timers and stuff when I first meet them at the clubs. They'll be like, "Oh man, you're so lucky to have a spouse that supports you," and it's like, "No, no, 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 no. I'm the supporting spouse. I am the one that helps and make sure that she, had more tanks to get her to come over to spend more time. I had to do that whole thing to get her to spend. I mean, probably not, but like that's what got us into even more aquariums, right? But she had three rules. She broke all three rules. We'll go to stores. She's the problem. She's the one that wants to bring home something that needs another aquarium. The reason why we have tanks all over the counters and everything like that. So yeah, absolutely. I am lucky enough that I have somebody that is just as passionate and involved and wanting to do this kind of stuff and share the hobby with others too. So I'm sure she'd be more than thrilled anytime you want to set up something like that. She'd be down as well.
Yeah, and just thanks for being on the channel. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure the viewers would definitely appreciate it. That they
No, no problem, man.
finally get to see and know the person behind such a shrimp empire.
Oh, just half of the person, right? The other person yet to come. So I couldn't have done it without her. But I gotta say, keep up the good work, man. Keep up the content. And you ever need anything, you just let me know. You need something for your shrimp, some moss or something like that. I got you. I'll send you a package.
I appreciate that, dude.